What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Chemical Guy's Detail Garage. Recently, we asked you guys for your help in asking us what questions you guys want to see answered on our channel. So today, Joey and I are going over the Q&A of anything you guys want to know about polishing. So without further ado, let's get started, Joey.
Let's do it.
So the first question we have here is from, I'm going to butcher this, Berthai's response: should you clay bar before compounding or waxing?
Always. So you always want to make sure that you clay bar and decontaminate the surface before you do anything on your paint for the best results. You want to make sure that the paint is fully decontaminated so that there's nothing that's going to interfere with the results, such as oils, grime, films, or anything like that. Our next question comes to us from Twerkus2381. And his question is there any way to polish matte paint?
And that's a good question, Twerkus81 something or another.
Make that thing clap.
The answer basically is no, because polishing, it's the act of enhancing shine or basically removing oxidation, but on a matte surface that can either stain it or it will obviously change the sheen. So we recommend to either leave it alone or repaint it or rewrap it if it's vinyl, but there is no way to polish on matte or satin finishes. Now our next question comes from Dustin Greenway 1, and he wants to know, how do you prevent burning for a newbie polisher, and what does burning look like?
All right, so pretty much when you're using a machine, no matter if you're using a rotary or DA polisher, you want to make sure that you're moving. You want to make sure that you don't stay in one area too much, because it'll obviously heat up the panel. Your pad's going to start heating up, which is going to heat up the panel, which can burn the paint from within. So you want to make sure you're constantly moving, keep your pad lubricated, and don't stay in an area for too long. Also, if you do, make sure to feel your panels so that if you are in an area for too long, touch it with your hand. If it's too hot, move on to a different area and then come back to that once it's cooled down.
That's right. And also, whenever you're working on cars, especially more angular cars like the newer ones where have thin or sharp body lines, the paint is going to be obviously thinner there because it lands differently. So you want to make sure that you're moving across that in a different manner, or you move over it quickly, because again, it's going to be very thin there, and that's how you either burn through it or you cause it to go right to the substrate and show the primer and whatnot. So next question.
Dante_P Carlos asks, what pad/polish combination should I use for light to medium swirl marks and scratches?
So to start off, we always recommend using the least aggressive approach. This is a common question that I get here because a lot of people want to jump right into the most aggressive or go right into compounding because that's the old school or the traditional way of doing it. But the best way to do it is start by using the least aggressive approach, because your clear coat is, it doesn't come back, it doesn't regenerate. So once you polish it, you're removing a very fine layer of that. And the more you polish it, or say you polish it from years and years of polishing, it removes all that clear coat, and then you're down to your base coat, or removes the paint completely, and then it causes peeling or fading. So we recommend starting off with something like V36 with an orange pad. This typically takes care of most scratches and swirls and revives any kind of shine, but you can also move from that to a higher aggressive compound or a lower aggressive final polish, just depending on what your paint condition's like. Yeah. So going along with polishing, Brandon 034 wants to know, how often or how do you clean the pad while polishing the entire car?
Okay, so if you're using one pad to polish one entire vehicle, you're going to want to go ahead and have pad cleaner and your pad conditioning brush on hand. Reason for it is because as you're using your pad, it's going to get gunked up with product, dry product. You're going to go through one pad very quickly, and you can't really rely on one. So you want to make sure that you clean it as you go. So the way you do it is you want to get your pad cleaner. You want to spray directly onto the surface of the pad, get your pad conditioning brush, and you're simply going to wring out the pores of the pad, because you want to make sure that those pores stay open so that it gives that cut, and you also get that refining as you're working the polish.
That's right, and also because you're removing paint material or clear coats, that's going to get clotted up in the pads. You can also run it underneath warm water to help loosen it and also help extract some of that spent product.
It's also a great idea to have multiple pads with you on hand as you're polishing, just because you don't want to be going back and forth from cleaning one pad. You don't want to do a section, have to clean it, do another section, have to clean it. It's great to have 3 or 4 pads on hand, just so that you can go ahead and do a good majority of the car. Clean them out if you have to, or you can actually get the whole car done with 3 or 4 pads and then just use your off time once you're done to clean your pads so that you don't waste time during the polish.
So Clean Capture wants to know, which V-line does Joey use to get so sexy?
Well, it's not up here. Jason, isn't that your Instagram?
I just need to know how you do it, man.
Our next question comes from Daily Drive K5s. He asks, does every polisher machine work the same?
So basically there's 2 different kinds of polishers. There's the old school style, which is the rotary, which means it rotates on one axis, which it cuts very quickly. And I've referred to this before, and a lot of other details referred to as a scalpel, while you have a random orbital or a dual action polisher, which has 2 axes, which means it rotates in one area and then it also rotates around that. And this is more like a butter knife where it's more forgiving. But basically, this one is for experienced detailers who want to cut very quickly. And then this is for the novice detailers who are learning to polish or hone their skills. And basically, you can cut very fine scratch and swirls out with this. And you can also apply your favorite glaze sealant waxes without having to worry about burning the paint or also damaging anything around the vehicle. So wax on, wax off wants to know, how do you prevent dusting from the cutting compound?
So a lot of the reasons why you're getting dusting from compound is because when you're using a compound, they're pretty abrasive, so they're going to create a lot of heat. So what you want to make sure you do is you want to make sure you lubricate your pads using pad conditioner and use it often, especially when using a cutting compound, because as you can imagine, they're going to create a lot of heat, seeing to that the pads that you used to cut with, they're more firm, they're more aggressive, so they're going to retain more heat. So with the heat, that's going to go ahead and pretty much cause it and your compound to kind of fling all over the place if it's not lubricated or saturated perfectly.
And also using a lot of product makes it clot up on the surface of the pad, and that also flings off dust because it's a lot of material for it to break down, and also as the surface heats up while you're polishing, it dries up and then that causes it to dust and fling off.
Our next question comes from Top View Auto Detail. His question is, what polishes / pads should be used for headlight restoration?
So when using a multiple step, like a wet sanding process to do your headlights, after you've done your sanding steps, you want to move on to a compound such as V34 with an orange pad or maybe even a yellow pad, depending on how scratched or how oxidized they are. And then you want to refine that using V36 with a white pad just to make sure you remove any of the excess, any kind of scratches, and also to really bring out the clarity of your headlight.
That clarity is what you're looking for. So you want to make sure you refine it with the fine polish to restore that shine, the deep luster of your headlight, make sure that you have the best visibility so that when you're driving at night, or if you're driving in inclement weather, you'll be able to see without having to worry about anything.
Also, headlights are very expensive on most cars, so polishing them is just a great way to, one, enhance the look of your vehicle, but it's also saving you money as opposed to replacing it, because, I mean, think about cars,
thousands.
Yeah, it could cost thousands depending on the car it is. I mean, unless it's some, used or older car, maybe a little cheaper to replace it, but on most cars, it's easier just to refine it and fix it so it looks its best. Soto Hand Washes wants to know, can fiberglass be polished with the V-line?
Yes, we actually make a specific compound / polish for fiberglass, and it's called Phase 5. Phase 5 is pretty much a specific fiberglass polish designed to break down heavy oxidation and scratches and swirls on any kind of gel coat or fiberglass. As you can imagine, it's a different material as opposed to like your car, which is usually the substrate is metal. But with fiberglass, it's a bit different in the way it reacts with heat.
I like it.
Just do it. Our next question comes from EverCN1. His question is, how much pressure do you apply to your machine so that you don't harm your paint finish?
So that varies from machine to machine. Just like we had mentioned before, we have a rotary or a dual action or random orbital. When using a rotary, the weight of the machine alone is plenty to create the proper friction to diminish the clear coat. And you don't want to add too much pressure because that causes more friction, which again can burn the paint or obviously damage it or cause marring or tiger stripes. But when you're using a dual action or a random orbital, you want to use about the weight of your hand and maybe a little bit more. This is something that you'll get used to as you work with the machine. It takes a little bit of practice to get the right pressure down, but you'll listen for the tone of the machine, and also you're watching for the pad for it to be spinning. That's why a lot of people put marks on their backing plate, or else you have the vented backing plate, which shows you as it spins, but you want to make sure that it's spinning at all times. Because if you put too much angle on there or too much pressure, it'll stall the pad, and basically it's just vibrating in one section where it's not polishing, and it's basically just wasting your time. So you want to make sure that it's spinning at all times. This way you're actually doing paint correction. Ivan 88 Montalvo wants to know, what tips could you give a beginner?
Just do it. So if you're, don't be afraid to polish. So that's my biggest, tip to any beginner or anyone who has never polished before. Don't be afraid to do it. The only way you're gonna learn is if you actually start doing it, and that's the way I learned. So you wanna make sure that you get your machine. Preferably, if you are a beginner, I would say go with the dual action. Rotary does require a little bit more technique, more profession, a little bit more of a background in the paint kind of industry. So you wanna make sure you utilize that more for a professional use. Don't be afraid to polish. Like I said, the only way you're gonna learn is hands-on learning. And our next question comes from Detail Box Ismer. I don't even know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry if I messed up your name. But his question is, sometimes we still see some haze and hologram even after polishing. Which product do you use to remove this?
So typically what that is, again, that's from either a high speed from the polisher or your hand speed is too much, which basically whenever you're using either a rotary or a dual action, you want to keep the polisher moving, but about 1 inch per second. It's basically your arm speed. And you want to make sure that you cover about 50% of your last pass. This way you're getting a uniform shine. But if you're still seeing either tiger stripes or holograms, it's either caused by a high speed or too much angle on the polisher, which digs into the paint, and then it's also removing at a very uneven rate. So what you want to do is slow down your whole process or move to a final polish such as V38 just to jewel the paint and really clear up any kind of final scratches and swirls.
Yeah, another thing I see that causes that hologramming is whenever you're using your pad, I see a lot of people, they don't clean their pad as they go or they don't condition it, which often kind of bakes the product onto the surface. Also, too much pressure kind of causes that marring effect because you can imagine, just imagine you're rubbing a dry, just flat surface on a hot, surface. It's just gonna mar, it's gonna leave a mark, and you wanna make sure that you clean it up, like Nick said, with the fine polish and a white pad such as V38, clean it up towards the end, and it restores that nice high shine clarity.
And one other thing also is that a lot of people pull off the pad too soon, which means that they haven't broken down the polish of the compound thoroughly. You want to make sure that it goes either completely clear or translucent, or like what I do is I'll make sure that it goes all the way clear and then give it one final pass just to make sure there's nothing left on the surface and that it thoroughly broke down. JS Bevets wants to know, how do you get rid of bad water stains on a black car?
Woo! That's pretty bad. So whenever you're faced with water spots, it can either mean two things. You can either, one, remove it with a dedicated water spot remover gel, or two, it's way too deep etched into the paint where it's been years of neglect that has been sitting on there like that, and you're gonna have to polish it out. If that's ever the case, most likely you're looking at more of a abrasive compound such as V34 and an orange pad. Do that, and then if that still doesn't remove them, then that's when you know that you've suffered the worst, and that may be a sign for you to go and stoop it down to like a yellow pad on V32 to get rid of those heavy imperfections and stains that are on the paint.
Alrighty guys, so this was just a handful of the questions or the hundreds of questions that you guys have sent in. So if you guys like this segment, be sure to give it a thumbs up and drop your comments down below for future videos and other questions you may have. And also, any of these products that you've seen here today, you can pick them up on our website, chemicalguys.com, or at your local detail garage.
Add us on Instagram. If you're not following us there, make sure to follow us on there. We post some amazing content on there as well. Facebook, Twitter, make sure to follow. If you have any questions, like Nick said, make sure to comment on them on this video or on an Instagram post, and we'll be glad to answer them on our next video.
And we'll see you guys next time.